I've got an international audience, and not everyone's going to know where you're from. So where would you say you, where were you born and raised?
In England. I was born in Wembley, London.
Okay.
Middlesex.
Okay, Middlesex.
Yeah, I'm born and raised here.
Okay. Now, unlike, I mean, how did you get into music? Because, I mean, when we look at a lot of the American artists, they'll always talk about, oh, we sang in church and stuff. But for yourself, how did you get into music?
Yeah, it wasn't through church. I think music has a very spiritual presence. It had in our household as young children, because my dad was a musician, singer-songwriter, producer, manager, and he had a 9-to-5 job on top of that. But before he got, he was a fully fledged adult, music was his life.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was our influence in the home growing up. Like from A to Z, very eclectic music collection between my mum and my dad.
Wow.
My mum loved Elvis Presley and Paul Anka, and we always played like John Holt on a Sunday, or the Commodores, or Randy Crawford. But a lot of reggae music was prevalent in our growing up as well.
Okay.
So, like I said, from A to Z.
Wow. And so, where were you? Was it at home that your dad just wanted to teach you guys how to sing, or how did that
Oh, no. Dad really didn't play a part in like us being instrumental to get together, and we coerced him, actually, because like how kids do when you play games or you make games up, and we'd be like, oh, like kids do, singing to the hairbrush, pretending. And then it got to a point where we were miming, and then we just started singing together. It was mostly the three girls.
Okay.
I think I told this story a lot over the years, but it was mainly the three sisters that wanted to do something. And my mum was like, well, why don't you do a little performance for one of my dad's artists back in the day, in the 70s? And she came over and we did our little pretend thing, and our little performance. And she was like, oh, Buster, if they want to do music, you should let them. And he was like, no, man, no. School's more important. They got to finish their schooling, and then we'll decide on that later. But she was like, they could still have potential. But Dad was always like, Mum and Dad, but Dad mainly because he'd been there and done that as an entertainer, a musician.
Yeah.
It was like, no, they need to finish their schooling first.
And that's something that's really, really powerful to hear, because he's had the experience of doors closing and recognizing also. I mean, viewers might not understand how I grew up in Liverpool, and being my parents are Nigerian, so coming to Liverpool in the 60s. And so there's that expectation, look, you don't want to struggle like we did, go to school and sort of stuff. But was that his mindset more so in not the industry, but more so just wanting to make sure that you guys were secure with an education?
I do believe, and I know that my mum and dad had a great education. They both grew up in Jamaica.
Okay.
But it was the case of, back then the Jamaicans believed there was a better life for their children here. Yeah. So both mum and dad came here as youngsters. But as far as schooling was concerned, my mum said she had the best schooling in Jamaica. So that was very important. And I think just in life, in general, I feel that all parents want the best for their children, and education is a part of having the best chance in life, so for potential in whatever they want to go on to progress in. And that was the case, but my mum and dad wished for happy children, most of all. Yeah
Now, you mentioned you and your sister started the vocal stuff, but the actual singing, because I mean, I would love to. I tried to sing the Beatles with my brothers, but I couldn't carry a tune. So how did you learn to actually sing to a point where, yes, you could carry a tune to progress?
You mimic, don't you, when you're younger? You mimic, and then you have a go, And then the more you enjoy singing, dancing, whatever, yeah, it's a momentum of progression. And so that's how it came about, really. It was like, oh, we can sing, we sound good. It was always a 3-part harmony with the girls. You know, I was always the lower, then Denise was the lead, and Lorraine was the octave above.
Okay.
Or the harmony.
But then who was out as female groups that you would look at? Because we're talking about the Supremes, we're pretty a little bit further back. So who were you guys modeling yourselves at that point?
We weren't, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
We weren't, but we had favorite artists. I mean, Denise used to sing along to Randy Crawford all the time. I wasn't really that musical, to be honest, Nnamdi. Okay. I wasn't that musical. I was more into netball and my sports, and but I had my favorite artists, you know, Michael Jackson, and I did love Dinah Ross back then, and you know, but like I said in the beginning, like from A to Z, a plethora of artists were always, you know, on our turntable.
Yeah, and so, but what about the dance? Because we've known you for the dance side. Was that ever more of a love interest than the singing for you?
See, my brother Stead went to college to learn dance and theatre. Somehow I got pushed to the front, or I took up the responsibility. I just loved to move and loved to dance. So rhythm and music was always in the house. Yeah. And like I said, again, with kids, we do little dance steps and stuff. And I just stepped in and said, I know, I'll do this. And then we can all do this. And then again, a progression from dancing upstairs in the bedroom with the mirrors on the wardrobes to stage performances.
Wow. When you guys came out, because I moved back to Nigeria relocated to Nigeria with the family in around '83, just as you guys came out. So I kind of missed the being in the UK and seeing all that stuff. Right. But the only sort of Black artist that I remember growing up was Eddie Grant and Musical Youth, British sort of based stuff. Yeah. Was there a worry that, okay, you know, we sound good, we've got a good image, but do we have the audience because in the UK to be accepted?
That did not cross my mind for a second.
Okay.
I think when you're that young as well, because Dell was 11 going 12, and then the eldest was 15. So we were just doing our work, basically. Dad, if any of those thoughts were going on, that would have been with my dad. So I can't honestly say that, oh yeah, we thought about that, because we didn't. Okay. We just thought about having the performance down with the vocals and the choreography, what we wore, and you know, doing a great show when we went out there.
Yeah. Was it because you once you guys did hit, you became, you know, you're not just talking about here in UK and Europe, but also in the States. How was it dealing with that amount of fame and stuff?
It wasn't hard at all. As well, Nnamdi, when you're young people at that age, like to start off with teens and, you know, stuff, and then early 20s, we still had that guidance and protection, and yeah, we had our dad there all the time. So having that support as well, you know, I want to say it was easy, and it was in a way, because you trust, you have someone there to trust as well.
Yeah.
So you know everything's going to go like clockwork.
But you've gone from just your family and friends knowing your name to millions of people around the world. And I have to say, not many of us have been in the situation where everywhere you go, you're on the magazines and Black Beat and Right On and the
Yeah.
newspapers. I don't know what it's like, and for you.
Those were great days. It was all very exciting.
Okay.
It was really exciting because along the journey, you get to meet other artists or you see them in passing.
Yeah.
And it was all very exciting and really tiring. I don't think enough people say it's a lot of hard work. All the traveling, the flying, you get there and you think you can sightsee. No, you go to do, Soul Train, you do American Bandstand, Solid Gold, you do all the American shit, you travel around the world. We were busy working and tired.
Yeah.
But when we did get to have that small break and enjoy ourselves, it was wonderful. But then it was over in a split second because you're flying on to, do another job or another TV, another interview.
How was it like then being siblings? And the age gaps between you guys are very, year and a half, a year.
Close. We're close.
You're very close. Which did the experience make you guys closer, or was it was it frictions, or how was that like in those early days?
I think because it was good in a way because the personalities, the characters you're dealing with. And then we could annoy each other at times because we're so close. So a bit of this and a bit of that. But I think there are huge advantages to being family and working together. There really are. And then there are some minuses, as well as pluses.
Yeah. Creatively, did you guys get to, apart from the singing, and you spoke about helping with the choreography and the dance routines and things, but what about when it came to writing and actually involved in how?
I didn't help with the choreography. I did the choreography.
Yeah, no, I was saying that how you guys sort of got involved.
I'm just being silly now. When it came to the singing and the songwriting.
The songwriting and yes. Did your dad give you guys that opportunity to?
That was another new path once we got to songwriting, because Denise was already prevalently a great little singer and songwriter. I think the development of the other four happened along the journey, especially for me. I didn't consider myself a choreographer, didn't consider myself a singer or a songwriter, but these things, to be great at, I don't think a lot of people realize unless you try or have a go and tap into kind of unknown, if you like, talents and skills that you have, and it's just to become familiar and have a go. I always say that though, Nnamdi, people should have a go, because I felt a little bit like I did the choreography, so that was my lane, so I stayed in that lane. But as you mature and you think, oh well, I'm in studio, and I wrote mostly with my brother Del, so building that confidence is another thing, to have the confidence to slip outside or step outside of your comfort zone and try something new. And to me personally, the songwriting and the singing were totally out of my comfort zone.
Wow. But then when you and Del would write, would it be, how did you decide that Del would be the best person out of the five to be able to, let's try and have a writing?
It happened. It just happened because at a young age as well, Del got himself into production with his drum machine, and then he'd get, so he'd program whatever beats and sounds, the keyboards, the bass line.
Wow.
And he'd put it all together, and I'd hear it and I'd be like, can I write to that?
Wow, okay.
and we worked really, really well together, had lots of fun. And that's another element of the whole process. The entirety of everything for me is to enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy working with my brothers and sisters, really.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I mean, most of us who you get to about 18 and then you know, either you go to university or stuff, you leave home, then only once a year you get to meet up with the family, but to have a career with them, these are memories that you don't lose and forget and stuff.
Yeah.
And, but then I also wonder, you know, with your siblings, when it comes to when, say, Denise is the sort of lead vocalist,
Mhm.
were there elements of, oh man, why can't I sing lead? Or you know, cause I asked this of say of other groups who have the main lead singer and everyone sings background, and I say, look, I prefer groups that everyone sort of mixes around. So if the lead vocalist has a cold that day, we don't get surprised when somebody else picks up the mantle. But was
Yeah.
it ever a case where, okay, well, Denise, let let the rest of us lead a song or two?
Way. It wasn't. It was always, we were just happy, like Stead doing the designing, Lorraine did the interviews, Del did the production, and I did the choreography. So everybody played their role. And it was accepted and everybody was cool with it. And then you get the fans start requesting, well, ooh, why doesn't Doris have a go? Why doesn't Del have a go? And it was like, okay, so that was something new to consider, because sometimes when people have a formula, they don't like to mess with it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the record companies were like further down the line when they heard Treat Me Like a Lady and some of the other songs I wrote. It was like, oh, you've got some other singers in the family. Never, I could not touch my sister vocally, you know,
Okay.
but I had my style. Lorraine
Yeah.
has her own style, Stead, you know, and Del.
Yeah, and you know, as I said, it's never about being able to outsing a sibling, but it's adding a different layer to a song.
That's
That
right.
Yeah,
That's right. And I put it across in that way, Nnamdi, because it's like, as I said, when you have a formula and it's working and people are like, why change it? So yeah, the formula can work in other ways where there's a different flavor to a vocalist, you know, or and that's how it went. That's how it went. And the fans, because they loved us individually, they had their favorites.
yeah,
No matter what we all did, they were like, they absolutely loved it. They
yeah,
loved it. And I think that whole family dynamic was like a well needed structure at the time.
yeah.
You know, to hear and see anything from a family was wonderful. Internationally, it was wonderful.
And I was going to wonder about that. So, I mean, when you think about a British, I mean, because since the Beatles, there weren't many British acts that could go to America and create a fan base out there. Did you feel that that was the big challenge? Did you recognize the challenge of, you know, because they had their own R&B and music in there, so to break that is never an easy thing.
No, not easy at all. But I think because the music was so great, and I think that is what stands out when you do great songs, you have great production, and the music holds its own. The songs, you can go anywhere in the world. You know, in America was like big because but the acts out there were fantastic. We looked up to those guys even before we became a group. We'd listened to a lot of American music. So, you know, and I think a lot of British 80s acts back then were trying to emulate that sound anyway.
Yeah.
But knowing that you're traveling somewhere where it's like, wow, these guys just outstanding with anything and everything they do musically, but knowing that we had great songs, pop songs,
Yeah.
but you know, they've stood the test of time, and I think that was prevalent back then, because my dad loved to use American musicians on our song.
Wow.
Yeah, dad was like, my kids are having the best of the best. Not that British musicians, we used a lot of British session musicians, but you know, as we got older and our career expanded a bit more, Dad was like, yeah, you know, we're going to get Paul Jackson, we're going to get Greg Fillinghayes, we're going to get this guy, that guy.
Wow.
And yeah, he was all about the sound and the production and delivering great pieces of work.
Do you realize the because you know, I remember I posted one of your songs on my page, and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis really say, oh, this was one of the great ones, and then I look back at how the style and image that you guys had, and I remember that when they were giving Janet Jackson, you know, there was that sense of her look, especially in Control, and that album. She had the sort of the styling that you guys sort of had, you know. Did you guys realize that there's some influences that you might have had on sort of her career, looks and sound?
Oh wow, I would love to. So, because like New Edition at the time and Ready for the World, all these bands that were out and these groups, Janet, we were just little trailblazers, huge trailblazers, you know. And are you talking stylistically, like musically, the genre?
Well, there's a combination, because you guys looked like royalty. I mean, I remember growing up with Adam and the Ants. You know, he always dressed like, wow, this is a rock star, the way he dressed, Adam and the Ants. But when you guys came out, you didn't just wear jeans and t-shirts. You looked like a cross, but you know, it's like something we see like Louis the XIII or something like that, you know. But the hair and the style, it just looked very rich, almost like how Michael Jackson dressed so differently, where it's like, wow, he put himself away from everyone else.
Yeah. I think as well, that excites me, that comment, because I think when you're an entertainer and not just a musician, there's a difference in a musician, I think, a little bit. But then again, look at Jimi Hendrix, very out there, you know, very flamboyant. And I feel that entertainment should provide not just the sound, but something to appeal to an audience for their eyes to see as well. Put on a show, you know, it's show business.
Yeah.
So I'm very much in that mindset when it comes to show business, and my family were as well, because you can get as creative as you like and have all the fun in the world. And I love when I see somebody entertain. I love to see somebody put on a show. You know, they're not just standing there. I mean, yeah, it depends on which artist it is actually, but I love to see a show. I love to be entertained.
Yeah. But as I said, when you have a style and the image that you guys had, it almost transcends just the music, because then we listen to the music different. As I said, when Michael Jackson started wearing the sort of glove and everything, it's like, okay, you know, Lionel Richie wasn't dressing like that. So, but you could see the difference in sales and attendance and stuff. It's just that he became a star that and so, as I said, when you guys came out, I can, you know, visually you stood out. Then you think about the music, and Madonna, the same thing. She thought, okay, you know, maybe I need to start working on my image alongside them. So it's something that you guys did, and I don't know if it was a conscious decision, or was it just like, oh, let's, you know, or was it someone else is doing that, let's try and do that, the image and the style?
Yeah, well, I think from watching the greats and entertainment in a certain era, we can take it all the way back to the Nicholas brothers, you know, and Josephine Baker and all those beautiful entertainers, and they entertained us. And I feel that's what we went for, and that's what we believed entertainment was all about, you know, not just getting there on stage and singing your bit and getting off. Entertain the crowd and enjoy yourself, enjoy your performance as well. There's a magic in it when you set yourself up to present an image as well. you know, and there's an element of make-believe there that makes it even more entertaining.
Yeah. How was it like being on stage in front of 100,000, thousands of people compared to when you were singing at home with just rest of the family? Because as I said, many of us will not experience, well, they won't on being on the cover of a magazine, but to stand in front of thousands of people and singing, what was that like? Was it nerve-wracking? Was it fun? Was it like excitement? I mean,
all of that, everything wrapped into that bundle of words. So exciting. You just get this rush of adrenaline, if that's what they want to call it, or this energy, and you're feeling the energy and anticipation from the crowd as well, from the audience. So that buzz is unbelievable. I don't think there's a word for it.
Yeah.
It's just a feeling.
Yeah.
And so it makes you get out there, and it makes you just do your best and give them your all, because they're psyched to see you, you know, in your outfits, in your sequins, and the bands behind, just music blaring, and it's like, it just takes you, you know, somewhere else, to a life less ordinary, somewhere else.
And I've seen your post where you're singing acoustic with your guitar, and I was wondering if back in those early days when you guys went talk, where you had those moments to say, okay, let's turn down the lights, and you just bring out the guitar and you just would sing a song, or was this something that you developed later on?
I think because of the song choices, there weren't any of those moments really. I think we were maturing and getting to that stage. But yeah, again, with song choice, it was always, because we're a group, it was harder to narrow it down to that type of performance. But it would have been lovely.
Yeah, but I mean, my question was really, when you reflect back on the career you guys had as a group, especially you took over the 80s. If you could go back and make it changes, knowing what you know now, what would you think would be different with five star?
Definitely more individual performances. I don't think that was explored enough. Like I say, people like to be safe, Nnamdi, when they have a product, and they like to use a certain process and a form. It works, then they want to stick to that. So yeah, I'd say to expand on each of the individuals, you know, exploring talent more.
Yeah, New Edition did that.
Oh, I love what they did. Utilize them. I was like, these guys have got it down. And I don't know if it's because they were all boys, all male. And I don't know if that was it. But they seem to love the orchestrated pattern of 3 girls, 2 boys, female lead singer, and then they liked that formation.
Yeah, and as I said, I've spoken to a lot of R&B groups from the 90s, and that was the pattern where the label was going, and like, we're putting in the money, this is how we're marketing it. And so when things are hot, you don't really mess with it. The stories that 90% of my guests have told is the fact that they get into the industry raw, without knowing the business. They just know the music side, and then they get shocked. Even Jodeci, when I interviewed them, they're like, oh yeah, we knew zero about the business, we only knew the music. And then they had to learn the hard way. That's the story of 90% of the other artists. Having your dad knowing the business, was how valuable was that for you guys, knowing that he...
Invaluable. But there's still, you know, the piranhas and the sharks around, so you know, even we got bitten.
Oh wow. I didn't,
you know, even having my dad around, it was like it was almost like in everybody's contract that was going to happen, you know. But it's the business side. If you really don't know it, Nnamdi, inside out like they do on the legal side of things and the business side of things. You know, we're all like surfaced, knowing what we know and going and doing a great, you know, performance and doing our work. And yeah, I would say today, you know, to the youngsters out there, be privy to your business, be mindful of your business as well, you know, or have someone alongside you that you trust. Because I'm one of those people where, of course, I've learned a lot, you know, over the years as I've matured, but I would still, as an artist and an entertainer, performer, I still like to focus in on just that and have someone else, like we had Dad. Yeah, it's the best way to work. I know some people that say, oh yeah, I still do, you know, the production, I'm doing the artwork, and I've got the website, and I'm doing the performances, and it's like nah, that's not for me.
No, and I've heard mixed messages from those who were just creative and they just wanted to be creative, but then what the lesson they learned was you needed to know the business. It doesn't mean you go and balance the books yourself, but you need to get people that you can trust. But because as you do,
I would say that's all the way to go, you know.
So the emergence of yourself, as you know, as I said, it's really lovely seeing those posts of you with the acoustic guitar. I like stripped down music. You know, it's not that I don't like. I mean, I'm Michael Jackson. I'm a biggest fan. But I do love stripped down. That's why I like a lot of what Adele does. You know, get a piano and just sing. You can hear the song, you can feel the emotion and stuff. So seeing you doing a lot more of that now is really lovely and stuff. But I wanted to know how you transition to that, because you know, you guys were big in the 80s, and then we get into the 90s when a lot of American R&B started to take the airwaves and stuff. How did that adjustment? Were you guys able to say, let's change our style and image, or the label will still say, no, we can still win it, and if we just keep to the same formula?
Yeah, that was the transition to being a more mature artist, band or group. Works really well for some, and I think the younger you start, the harder the transition.
Yeah,
it seems to be less acceptable to sit from seeing you as cute bubblegum to ooh, you know, kind of mature, just more mature, and you know, you grow into yourself, and now you're a beautiful young adult, and it's like, oh, the transition is too much. People are not going to buy that anymore. They just want to see you at this stage, you know. Like I'm going back to the Nicholas brothers, as they matured, they were like, oh, the sexual chemistry or energy that they're portraying is way too much now. We don't want to see that. We want you to dumb back down to being just sweet and cute, and you know, we can sell to families, to kids, you know, it's more appealing. But no, the transition seems to be a lot trickier. I don't know why, because it's a natural progression in life to go from a teen to young adult to an adult. And I don't see the problem with that, as long as you transition along with your music and your audience. I think it's fine. But the business minds don't get it. The business minds are just thinking business, whereas, you know, I think if we had more people like us, the entertainers, in that position, put ourselves in that position, it would be a lot smoother of a transition, and the foresight of seeing that these things are possible.
But then how did you, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a therapist, and I just wonder how you transition from the heights of global fame to, okay, the label's thinking the album sales aren't not going to as big, and the tours and things aren't as big as they used to be. How do you manage and deal with that personally?
Personally, I felt when that happened, slowly but surely, as long as my family are okay, I'm good. work is work, but my family comes first, and the well-being and the welfare of my family was my main concern, because that was how we grew up in our West Indian family and in our culture. It's mum and dad taught us always to share, always to be there, look out for each other. So as long as that was intact, I was happy personally.
Okay. But then was there the sense of, wow, what do we do next? How do we reinvent ourselves?
Yeah, definitely. You know, how do we move on from here? Take a break, take some time out, and then, you know, rethink, reshuffle. But like I say, that whole transition thing again, Nnamdi, is like, oh, you become tainted if, you know, you fall a little bit from where you were before. Nobody wants to touch you, you know? So it did become a tougher ride, you know, a tougher journey. But I think when you know yourself and you know your capabilities, and as long as you can get back up and brush off, you can keep going.
So then how did you then transition?
Geographically, everybody got more mature, started their own families. So everybody kind of split and went their own way, started doing their own thing. Me personally, playing the guitar, I never thought I could play the guitar, because you always hear people say, oh no, you should really start that when you're younger. It doesn't really work when you're older. So it was like, you know, you shy away from things and you think, oh yeah, I'm a bit too old to learn that now. But once I picked it up and started learning and teaching myself chords and making up chords, and developing a style on the guitar and how to have the confidence to sing more and to write more songs, it was wonderful. My transition then became very individual and personal and powerful as well, because, you know, my confidence boosted even more, because to do something by yourself and not be within that entity of being one with 5 others or 6 or whatever the case may be, you have to adapt and become that one thing. So when you are left to your own devices and you're solo by yourself, it's a really, really lovely development time for you. You can just be absorbed into that time and really find out who you are away from the others. So it's really precious time for me, actually.
And did you find doors open for you to express your music to, you know, like labels saying, okay, let's give Doris a chance? And
no.
Oh.
No, because I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't looking for that personally. It's growth and self-development, and the interest is there. I wasn't expecting that, because like I said, I've never been a solo artist or, you know, an artist in my own right. So yeah, this time has been so lovely. The growth for me personally is great. So yeah, I've done some collaborations with other artists and writing my own things, you know. So I'm looking forward to 2022.
Yeah, I mean, how did the collaboration with Alex come about?
Alex's collaboration came through. It's weird how things connect and happen, because a friend of mine, we actually met her through my dad. She was 14 and she came to one of our concerts, and she turned up without her parents. And my dad was like, no, we can't let you in without your parents. So you need to go back home and get one of your parents to come. This is my dad being a dad at the concert, you know?
Wow.
Being a responsible adult, go and get a parent, then you can come in. So anyway, that's how we got to meet. And my friend Manji, she has her own meditation website. So Manji introduced me to Alex because we were her guinea pigs for her first meditation, a bespoke meditation each. She's gone on to be successful. And that's how I got introduced to Alex. He came to England. We went to London. Let's meet up for tea. Alex is a DJ, also a producer, a painter, artist. Wow. And so, yeah, he was a fan of ours back in the day. So we went to London, had tea. And as he was leaving, I said, Alex, why don't we write something? And he was like, that would be amazing. Sometimes it takes for just somebody to ask, you know, because you just feel it's a social thing, you know, we're just saying hi. But I was like, because I love to write with other artists. I love to write with other people, especially when it's out of my comfort zone again, because Alex's music, I've never really written that genre of music before. And I absolutely found it challenging. And I love a challenge, Nnamdi. And I went for it. And we produced some lovely bodies of work, really, really exceptional pieces.
So was it then, I mean, with the single out now, was this just this one single that we're seeing, or do we expect more stuff?
We have written a few songs together, but this is just this wasn't even supposed to be me singing. I wrote it for an artist for the album Book of Spells, but when Alex heard the demo, he said, no, we have to have you sing it, Doris. I want you on the album with the, you know, the other writers, co-writers. So that's how that happened. That's how that came about.
Now that you've come out with a single that's out, you've got the video out as well, has that put a hunger for to do anything more, or what's
Yeah, it has. It's ignited that, and I'm happy about it because I get to express myself even more as a songwriter and as an artist. And there'll be, you know, I'll come back with my choreography as well, some dancing. But yeah, it's made me feel like this is good, as long as, you know, I've started acting as well, so that's another string attached. But yeah, I love it. I love the whole process of music and entertainment. Yeah.
But have you been doing any tours? I mean, I know prior to lockdown.
I haven't been doing any tours. Alex and I did say, because Alex is in Los Angeles still, and we would have done a little mini radio tour here if he was here. But yeah, this is basically this collaboration with Alex. No tour for that. It's just, you know, he's just releasing songs from the album Book of Spells. The other project that I was on that was released last month was the 80s album, the Rediscovered album. I did a song on that, a cover by Corinne Bailey Ray, Put Your Records On.
Okay.
So there aren't any real performances as yet, Nnamdi. They're just released. This isn't my call. They're just releasing songs from the project. And I have another song that I'm featured on, another collaboration for the new year with my cousin, Lady Margaret MC. We've done a remake of System Addict.
Oh.
With Felix from Basement Jack. So more to come. More to come. So nothing's really locked down with me as an artist at the moment, because none of this was intentional for me, but I've enjoyed the journey so far, people asking me to collaborate. So yeah, we'll see what more is to come.
I know, you know, no one will forgive me if I don't ask about the possibility of you know, ABBA have come back together after 100 years. So the possibility of you and his siblings, yeah, I mean,
it's been that long.
No, but I mean, we've heard from the fact that all four of them came back, recorded a new song and stuff, but it's so it doesn't go without asking. Anyone will say, wow, what is it getting you and your siblings together to do you know, either tour, the new music and stuff like that?
Well, if the stars align and it's on the cards, of course, you know, I'd like that. I'd like that very much, because it would be nostalgic for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, to hear all the greatest hits again and get back out there on stage and just have some fun.
But now, as I said, I'm not in the industry, so it's hard to understand. But people would say, "Oh, but you know, just give a call to the rest of the siblings. Say, guys, why don't we just go get a manager, do the press will eat it up. Book Wembley O2. Do the Spice Girls did it. Everyone's coming back. JLN,
Yeah.
everyone. So it'll be a massive thing. The fact that you guys can do it, but is it as hard? We might think it's easy as family. Oh, why don't you guys get back together? But the reality of it is it much challenging to
It
actually.
can be at times. We've tried a few times to pull it together and do something. Like I said, I think it's out of our hands, and when the energy and everything comes together, it'll be the right time, because it doesn't seem to work if I say, why don't we all get back together? And then the other one's like, oh, but I've got this on and I'm doing this. Like, sometimes it's like, yeah, why don't we? But it just doesn't seem to stick. So when it's the right time, I think it's very possible.
Okay. I mean, New Edition, we're supposed to do an album and a tour after their movie came out, but things didn't work out. But now in 2022, they're doing a residency in Vegas.
Oh,
So
wow.
yes, they're doing a residency in Vegas. They've got so it was a big announcement last year, but you can see that it's not that. Yeah, people have things booked in, so sometimes as fans, we're like, come on, just siblings, when you meet up for Christmas, just put something together and stuff.
Know it.
Yeah. I think finally, the one thing I always remember with you guys as a kid was the mansion and the sports cars. Now, was that real? That was where you guys lived and those were your cars, or was it more so a part of the image and mystique of Five Star?
No, that was our home.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. At the time, now the videos we see, it didn't feel as homely because it was a mansion and stuff. But how was it to live there? Was it too big to?
Oh no, 7 people, and it was nice to have the room. We grew up in a 3-bedroom house with 7 people with 1 bathroom, to start in Romford. So it was nice to have the space and your own bathroom. It was lovely, but we were working a lot, so
you were hardly there.
It was nice to spend time there when we were at home.
Yeah.
And have mum's cooking and stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was home.
Okay. Final question is, when you look back all the materials that you did in Five Star, what would be your favorite song?
A lot of the songs were pop, and my heart always geared towards the more R&B songs, like Let Me Be the One and With Every Heartbeat. So I'd say between those two, and Rain or Shine as a pop one.
Okay. I always ask my guests if you were stuck in a lift and
no,
they say,
I don't take the lift. I always take the stairs.
Okay. Okay. The question was normally, and it would take 3 hours to get you out. What movie would you want to watch? What? It's almost like trying to find out what your favorite movie is.
It would have to be something funny, because being stuck in a lift would be. It would be comedy. You know what? I watched. I think it was Young Frankenstein with my dad one day. Have you seen that movie? It's in black and white with Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks.
Oh, Mel Brooks. Yeah, the Mel. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it would have to be something funny, or Norman Wisdom, or it would have to be a comedy for me.
Okay. What's your all-time favorite song by any artist? By just like a song
Oh
that.
wow, wow. I not too long ago heard some Phil Collins, just back in the 80s stuff came on the radio, and David Bowie, Donna Summer. It would be a collection of songs. I couldn't choose one. I love the Whispers. I love Evelyn Champagne King. I could go on and on.
Yes, but you have one song to pick before they put on your movie.
What?
Yeah,
All
one
right,
song.
I'm gonna go for Michael Jackson song, I Can't Help It, written by Stevie Wonder.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay. My all-time favorite is Michael Jackson's "The Lady in My Life." Just
I didn't like that song.
You didn't like that song?
No, because I felt he was singing about another woman and not me.
Oh, okay. Did you guys ever get to meet him or any of the Jacksons? Oh, you did?
Yeah, I met him. Yeah.
How was that experience? Wow.
Oh my God. It was the best experience of my life meeting that man. I always wanted to meet him as a girl, and to have my dream come true, meet him on the Bad Tour was like, oh, the ultimate in my whole career. Yeah.
Wow.
Outstanding.
Did he know of you guys?
Yeah, he loved our music. He was just beautiful, humble, funny, and just gorgeous man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. What about the other siblings, Janet or the Jacksons?
No, I hope to meet her soon though. I'd love to meet Janet, but Michael, like when we got to meet the Queen and other people in the industry and in entertainment, but yeah, the highlight of my life in my career was to meet Michael.
Wow. I had tickets for the This Is It tour, 'cause that was gonna be my first time seeing him in concert, and
Yeah.
sadly, yeah, it did. Yeah, so that was because when I moved to America, he had stopped touring in America. He was touring in Europe, so I was like, oh goodness. So, so when I moved back to the UK, he'd stopped. That was it, the first time and stuff. But we always ask our guests, what are you listening to now? I mean, what would you recommend for people, like new artists or emerging artists that's out with some music that you'd say, hey,
I was gonna say listen to a little bit of everything, but I'm a huge fan of music that is not programmed. So I'd say listen to some live music, listen and appreciate live musicians, any genre of music, but live. And we really need to appreciate musicians and live music. I'd say go and watch bands and acts perform live.
Yeah.
We need that. We don't need just the downloading. We need people to go out and support live music.
Yeah. But I mean, have you considered to do a reimagination of some of the top 5-star songs acoustically? Because that would be something that
That would. I thought about that, like with an orchestra though. That would be fantastic.
But the thing about that is just that it's a lot to coordinate, and it's easy to say,
okay,
yeah.
I see. Like you're talking about like an unplugged kind of moment.
Yes. So you take 8 or 10 of the biggest songs that you did, and then you reimagine them, just you on the guitar. You might decide to get another guitarist to join you on tour, but that in itself would get the odor.
That's a lovely idea.
Yes, because in one way, what you're doing is those of us who have grew up on the music would be like, wow, yeah, I remember that, but we may not be able to dance as we used to back in the day, but it's a good way to listen to it. Because as I mentioned earlier, that as much as I grew up in the 90s, I loved how Adele just lets the music through her voice and a piano at the back.
Yeah.
Now, if you had a piano player and a guitar player and you're like, let's go on tour, then that's great. But to make it easier, if you were to just showcase that, I think that's in itself promoters will start looking and say, okay, that's actually something that we can look at opening the doors to, with, you know, Doris on her guitar singing her songs and stuff. And you know, if you start to, you know, you can start to do showcases on online, and for us to see it, and that's how the buzz that's coming out. But I think there'll be a big market for us to listen and appreciate you singing live, listening to
Yeah.
your guitar playing to some of the songs that you guys made famous.
Yeah, yeah, that is a lovely thought and idea. You know, I'm still learning to play the guitar, but I have actually achieved, like, one of the songs from no, the song that I've sung, I've done a rendition of Put Your Records On. I've learned how to play that on my guitar, so that'd be something that will be posted on my social media. I'm mostly on Instagram, so that's
Yeah.
where people see me and find me. But yeah, the idea of playing more acoustic and just with the voice live, you know, and unplugged is, yeah, I love songs with just the guitar. Guitar is my favorite instrument, so
Yeah,
that would be something worth considering.
especially your own songs, because so many times I speak to the artists from who and they're saying, yeah, we're gonna be doing a Stevie Wonder song. I said, but no, you came out in the 80s and the 90s. You had some big hits. The record labels own the masters to those. Why don't you then re-record the songs that you wrote, and you know, and just give it, reinterpret it for us to listen to it now, and not sing somebody else's song. But you know, if you sang "Can't Wait" in a slower, in acoustic way, it would be like, wow, you know, it is something, you know. And then you can, you know, then you can see how that goes, and it eventually could release it and stuff. But then that opens doors and stuff, and
Yeah,
then maybe your siblings would say, oh well, we can do a stripped down tour
maybe.
as opposed to having the whole production and stuff. But anyway, it's
Yeah,
just stuff that you'd
just
have
put
one.
it out there, Nnamdi. Just putting it out there, and that's how it all starts, you know, with the trickle and then a stream, and then yeah.
Yeah, and so as I said, we've got a, you know, I know my channel, a lot of I mean, even I'm based here in the UK, I would say a lot of the community are based in the US and Australia and Asia, but they love to see singers, they love to see their favorite 80s and 90s acts singing live. But if you're not touring, then having material of you singing your own stuff in an acoustic way gets that buzz going and stuff. Justin Bieber got signed singing at home and releasing it on IG. You know, that's how people then say, wow, this is great. I never thought about that. And somebody then says, yeah, it just goes viral.
Yeah,
But,
that's exactly what I've started doing. Like, I did an a cappella of Love is Prayer on my Instagram. You know, people love it, and it's so nice to be able to just click my fingers and express the song,
yeah,
you know, just very simply and beautifully. Because as you say, you know, they get to see me, hear me, know the lyrics, and know that, you know, it's a performance, it's a live performance, and there's no auto tuning.
yeah, no, definitely, yeah. But as I said, our hope it would be to be able to see you on a stage, singing songs. But this would just be a good way of making that happen. As I said,
Yeah,
you know, mix up some of your new songs with some of the favorites that we hadn't heard from in a long time. I think that will you know, gives you a nice variety. You know, 5 songs from 5-star, then you know, 5 from what you've done now. Then that'll be a nice little package to use as to tour and stuff.
Absolutely. Listen to you being my manager.
No. As I said, I love music, but I love the but as I said, I like stripped down stuff because I can. That's why I was really impressed, as I said, seeing you just sing with your guitar, and that's always is the stuff that I really appreciate, and I think there's a lot of us like that would really appreciate that, but we don't. As I said, have you heard an acoustic version of any of your 5-star songs, any of the 5-star songs?
Well, I did one on my Instagram, actually, of one of my older songs called Don't You Know I Love It. I had a crack at that one. So yeah, that's the only one I've heard, to be honest.
Yeah. So I mean, as I said, if the more of that we see, the more it's like, wow, okay, you know,
Absolutely. Yeah. People like that one-on-one, that personal interconnection, you know. So I absolutely understand what you mean.
So hopefully I set a challenge that you can, you know, that I could hear.
I like a challenge.
So hopefully between now and Easter, yeah, I mean, well, New Year actually, we might. Do you think we might see a couple of you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
There's a little more.
Yeah. Well, I do definitely appreciate the time you've taken, and it's been great. It's been fascinating, and you know, hearing the story. But I'm going to be sure to make people aware of Lover's Prayer,
Thank you.
but also the fact that you've got other things that we can expect on your social media accounts in the hopefully coming weeks and stuff, which would be a blessing and stuff. Did you guys ever do a Christmas song?
No, that's one thing I've always wanted to do. I've written one Christmas song. It's a beautiful song, but no, we haven't. What
about the one you've written? What's the one you've written?
I actually wrote that as a songwriter for a Japanese boy band.
Okay.
Years ago.
Have you done it live?
No, but that could be one for Christmas. You did jog my memory.
Well, please do, because I think over the next 2 weeks I'm going to start showcasing a number of R&B.
Oh, lovely.
Songs. So if you did have a acoustic version of that, I'll definitely want to push, because the time to release a Christmas song would be, Mariah Carey did it the 1st of November. She just went out and stuff, but it is just before Thanksgiving, just to get people going. So please, if whenever you do have it, let me know, and as I said, I will.
Sure will. I really will. I like your style. I love your energy and your enthusiasm. Thank you so much for having me, Nnamdi.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.